Welcome to Drift to Sleep. Hello, my friend. Let yourself rest now. Let the day loosen its edges. Let your breathing become slow and easy. Let your thoughts settle like leaves after rain. Today, the story is called The Door Beneath the Rosemary Steps. It is a gentle bedtime fairy tale about an old garden lane in autumn, a quiet village after rain, and a tiny hidden door glowing beneath a wall of rosemary. There will be wet stone steps. There will be warm lamplight. There will be the scent of rosemary, honey cakes, and cedar smoke. And beneath the roots of an ancient wall, there will be a secret village where little hearths glow softly in the dark. Everything here is quiet, everything here is gentle, and you are safe as the story begins. There was once a village built on a hill. Its cottages leaned pleasantly against one another, as if they were old friends sharing a blanket. The lanes were narrow and made of smooth grey stone. Window boxes overflowed with herbs. In the mornings, the air smelled of bread, damp roofs, and wood smoke. At the top of the village stood an old garden wall. No one knew who had built it. It was made of pale stones, patched with moss, lichen, and tiny ferns. Behind it was an abandoned orchard where apple trees grew twisted and generous, dropping fruit into the grass every autumn. At the foot of the wall was a short flight of steps. The villagers called them the Rosemary Steps because rosemary bushes grew thickly on both sides. In summer, bees hummed over their purple flowers. In autumn, rain brought out their sharp, clean scent. A girl named Leora loved those steps. She was 14, thoughtful, and fond of quiet places. She liked collecting smooth pebbles, pressing leaves between book pages, and listening to rain before sleep. Leora lived with her aunt in a cottage halfway down the hill. Her aunt kept a little mending shop. All day, people brought torn sleeves, loose buttons, fraying hems, and worn quilts. Leora often helped by sorting thread and winding ribbons onto wooden spools. She liked the shop best in the late afternoon, when the lamps were lit and the rain tapped softly at the windows. But she liked walking even more, especially after rain. On the afternoon our story begins, the village had been washed clean by a gentle drizzle. The roofs shone, the stones gleamed, the air smelled green and new. Leora wrapped herself in a soft brown shawl and stepped outside. Her aunt looked up from a basket of socks. "Not too long," she said kindly. "It will be dusk before you know it." "I'll stay near the wall," Leora promised. She took the lane upward. Water dripped from eaves. A cat watched her from a windowsill. Somewhere, a kettle whistled. The whole village seemed to be settling into the cozy part of the day. When Leora reached the rosemary steps, she paused. The scent was stronger than usual. rosemary, rain, old stone, and something else, something warm, something like toasted bread. Leora looked around. No one was nearby. The old wall stood quietly. The orchard behind it rustled in the breeze. Drops fell from apple leaves onto the grass with soft little taps. Then she noticed something she had never seen before. At the bottom of the wall, half hidden behind a rosemary branch, was a door, a very small door. It was no taller than her hand. It had a rounded top, a brass knob, and a little window glowing amber from within. Leora knelt on the wet stone step. The door had not been there yesterday. She was sure of it. A thread of warm air drifted from beneath it, carrying the smell of honey cakes, cedar smoke, and steeping tea. Leora, hello. The tiny door opened. Behind the door was not darkness. It was a stairway, a little stairway, warmly lit, winding downward beneath the wall. Leora leaned closer. The stairway should not have fit inside the stones. It should have run into earth or roots almost at once. But instead, it curled away, golden and inviting. From somewhere below came the sound of a tiny bell, ting. Then a small figure appeared on the stair. He was no taller than a teacup. He had round cheeks, dark bright eyes, and a cap made from a folded chestnut leaf. Over one shoulder he carried a bundle of kindling twigs, tied with red thread. He looked up at Leora. Leora looked down at him. Neither spoke for a moment. Then the little man bowed. "Good evening," he said. His voice was small but perfectly clear. "Good evening," Leora replied carefully. "You found the rosemary door." "I think it found me," Leora said. The little man seemed pleased by this answer. "My name is Tobin. I am a hearth-keeper." "What is a hearth-keeper?" "We keep small fires warm," he said, "and large hearts warmer when we can." Leora did not fully understand, but she liked the sound of it. Tobin shifted his bundle of twigs. "You are a tall person. I suppose I am to you. Are you kind?" Leora considered this. "I try to be." Tobin nodded. "That is usually the best kind of kind." He turned and called down the stair. "She tries." Several tiny voices murmured below. Then Tobin looked back at Leora. "You may come in for a short visit, if you step gently and do not sneeze near the chimneys." Leora blinked. "I am too large." "Only out there," Tobin said. He lifted one hand and touched the inside of the tiny door. The rosemary bushes trembled. The door grew, not quickly, slowly, like a flower opening. It stretched from the size of Leora's hand to the size of a cupboard, then a cottage door, then just large enough for her to stoop through. Leora looked once down the village lane. The sky was soft grey. Dusk had not yet arrived. Her aunt's cottage window glowed far below. She should have gone home. But the warm scent from the stair wrapped around her like a scarf. "I'll only stay a little while," she whispered. Then she stepped through the rosemary door. The stairway curved downward. Its walls were made of smooth roots and old stone. Little lamps hung from hooks, each one no bigger than an acorn. They glowed amber and gold. As Leora descended, she grew smaller, or the stair grew larger. It was difficult to tell. By the time she reached the bottom, Tobin was almost as tall as her shoulder, and the world around her had become just the right size. They stood beneath the garden wall in a hidden village. It was called Emberley Underwall. Small houses were built into roots, stones, and hollow spaces beneath the orchard. Each house had a round door, a warm window, and a tiny chimney that sent threads of fragrant smoke up through cracks in the wall. The lanes were paved with flat seeds and polished pebbles. Lanterns hung from low roots. Everywhere, hearth-keepers were preparing for evening. Some carried baskets of kindling, some polished kettles, some shook out rugs no bigger than handkerchiefs, some stirred soup in little black pots. It was the coziest place Leora had ever seen. Tobin led her down the main lane. "Evening is our busiest hour," he explained. "Fires must be banked, teapots warmed, crumbs swept, dreams encouraged, dreams encouraged." "Of course," Tobin said. "Dreams are shy. They come more easily to warm rooms." Leora smiled. They passed a bakery built inside a hollow apple root. A woman with flour on her nose pulled tiny loaves from a brick oven. The loaves were shaped like leaves and smelled of honey. Beside the bakery was a shop filled with candles, not ordinary candles. These were mood candles, sleepy blue, cheerful yellow, remembering green, forgiving rose, quiet white. A candle maker dipped wicks into warm wax while humming under his breath. A little farther on, Leora saw a fountain made from a snail shell. Instead of water, it trickled with golden light. "What is that?" she asked. "Lamplight spring," Tobin said. "Very useful in winter." Children ran past them carrying walnut shell bowls. They stopped when they saw Leora. "Tall guest," one whispered. "Not so tall now," said another. Leora gave a shy wave. The children waved back, then ran on. At the center of Emberley Underwall stood a round hall with a roof made from overlapping apple leaves. Above its door hung a sign. The common hearth. Inside was one large fire. It burned low and steady in a stone hearth. Around it were chairs, cushions, stools, and benches. Some were sized for children, some for elders. Some, Leora noticed, were now just right for her. The room smelled of smoke, tea, wool, and baked apples. An elderly hearth-keeper sat near the fire, knitting with needles made of pine. Her hair was silver, her shawl was red. Her eyes were warm and bright. Tobin bowed. "Mistress Vella, this is Leora." The rosemary door opened for her. Mistress Vella looked Leora up and down. not rudely but carefully. "The door has good judgment," she said, "usually." Leora gave a small curtsy. "I did not mean to disturb anyone." "A gentle visitor is not a disturbance," Vella said. "Sit, warm your hands." Leora sat on a cushioned stool by the fire. The warmth was immediate, not too hot, not sharp, just right. It soaked into her fingers and knees and shoulders. Someone placed a cup of tea in her hands. It tasted of apple peel, cinnamon and rosemary. Someone else offered a honey leaf cake. Leora took one bite and felt as though she had eaten a piece of late afternoon sunlight. For a while she simply watched. The hearth-keepers moved in calm patterns. A pair of them mended a tiny quilt. Another read aloud from a book with bark pages. A child dozed against a brown dog no bigger than a loaf of bread. Mistress Vella's knitting needles clicked softly. Click, click, click. Leora felt deeply peaceful. Then Vella said, "Tell me, child from above, why were you walking after rain?" Leora looked into her tea. "I like the smell of the world after rain," Vella nodded. "A very good reason. And I like quiet places." "Also good." Leora hesitated. "Sometimes the village feels full of voices, not bad voices, just many. I like to go where I can hear smaller things." Mistress Vella smiled. "Then perhaps that is why the door opened. We are smaller things." After tea, Tobin asked if Leora would like to see the chimneys. "The chimneys?" "Our chimneys are special," he said. "They carry warmth upward." They left the common hearth and followed a narrow lane toward the oldest part of the village. Here, the roots of the orchard trees twisted overhead like dark beams. Tiny doors glowed between them. Pipes made from reeds carried steam from kitchens. Somewhere, a lullaby was being played on a wooden flute. At last, they reached a chamber beneath the rosemary steps. The ceiling was full of little openings. Through them, Leora could see thin shafts of evening light. "These lead to the village above," Tobin said. "Not into houses, only near them, under steps, beside garden walls, through chimney stones, beneath window boxes." He pointed to one opening where a thread of smoke rose. "When we tend our hearths, a little comfort travels upward. People think they are simply feeling cozy, but sometimes it is us." Leora listened. From above came faint sounds, a door closing, a spoon stirring. Someone laughing in a kitchen, rainwater dripping from a roof. Tobin handed her a tiny bundle of rosemary twigs. "Would you like to help?" "What do I do?" "Place them on the ember tray. Think a kind thought. That is all." Leora took the twigs. They were small and fragrant. She placed them carefully on a tray of glowing coals beneath one of the openings. The rosemary caught slowly. A thin ribbon of scented smoke rose upward. "Now a kind thought," Tobin whispered. Leora closed her eyes. She thought of her aunt bending over mending work, lamplight on her hands. She wished her a peaceful evening, warm tea, and no more difficult socks. The smoke glowed faintly. Tobin grinned. Good, very good. Above, somewhere far away and close at once, Leora imagined her aunt pausing, lifting her head and smiling without knowing why. They moved from opening to opening. At one, Leora thought of the baker, whose knees hurt in damp weather. At another, she thought of the cat in the window. At another, she thought of a lonely old man who lived near the well and always swept his doorstep at dawn. Each time, the rosemary smoke rose. Each time, the chamber grew warmer. Mistress Vella joined them quietly. "You have a hearth-keeper's instinct," she said. Leora blushed. "I only thought nice things. That is most of the work." For a moment, Leora wished she could stay all evening. But then a bell rang, deep and soft. Tobin looked up. Dusk bell. Leora's heart sank a little. "I need to go home." "Yes," said Vella. "First visits are brief. Secret places must be entered slowly." She placed something in Leora's palm. It was a small button made of warm amber. "Keep this in your pocket," Vella said, "not to summon us. We are not summonable, but to remember warmth." Leora closed her fingers around it. "Will I find the door again?" Mistress Vella's smile was gentle. "When you are quiet enough to notice it." Tobin walked Liara back through Emberley Underwall. The village had grown even cozier in dusk. Windows glowed brighter, tiny curtains were drawn, kettles steamed. Children carried sleepy candles home in jars. At the Rosemary stair, Liara turned for one last look. Mistress Vella stood outside the common hearth, knitting beneath a lantern. The baker waved with a flowery hand. The candle maker lifted a blue candle in farewell. Tobin bowed. "Step gently upward," he said. "And do not forget to be your proper size." Liara softly. She climbed the stair. As she went, the lamps became smaller, the root walls narrowed, the smell of rosemary grew stronger. At the top, she stepped through the door and found herself kneeling beside the old garden wall. The door was tiny again, then it faded, only moss and rosemary remained. The village bells began to ring below. Liara rose. Dusk had arrived. Cottage windows glowed along the lane. The sky was lavender grey, and the first star trembled above the chimney tops. She hurried home, though not too quickly. The amber button warmed her pocket. When she opened the door of the mending shop, her aunt looked up. "There you are. I was just thinking of making tea." Liara smiled. "Rosemary tea?" Her aunt blinked. "That sounds perfect." They drank tea by the window. The shop was warm. The lamps were lit. Rain began again, tapping softly on the glass. Liara helped sort thread while her aunt mended the last sock of the day. But all evening, Liara kept thinking of the hidden village beneath the wall, the apple leaf roof, the lamplight spring, the tiny loaves, the chamber of chimneys, the way a kind thought could rise like smoke. At bedtime, she took the amber button from her pocket. It still held warmth. She placed it on her bedside table, beside a pressed fern and a smooth white pebble. Then she climbed into bed. Outside, the rain whispered over the village. It ran down roof tiles. It gathered in gutters. It darkened the Rosemary steps at the top of the hill. In the mending shop, the fire settled low. Liara's aunt slept in the next room, one hand resting peacefully outside her quilt. Liara lay awake for only a little while. The amber button glowed faintly beside her, not bright enough to light the room, just bright enough to remind her. Warmth exists in hidden places. Kindness can be small, a quiet thought can rise. Beneath the old garden wall, Emberly Underwall settled for the night. Tobin stacked kindling beside his hearth. Mistress Vella folded her red shawl. The candlemaker snuffed the cheerful yellow candles and left only sleepy blue. The baker covered tomorrow's dough with a cloth. At the common hearth, the great fire dimmed to a steady glow, and from 100 tiny chimneys, warmth drifted upward through root, stone, moss, and rosemary. The village on the hill slept softly under it. Cottagers leaned together, cats curled in chairs, kettles cooled on stoves. Dreams came easily to warm rooms, and Liara, breathing slowly beneath her quilt, dreamed of a little golden door opening beneath the rosemary steps. Not tonight, not yet, but someday, when she was quiet enough to notice it. And now, our story has come to its quiet end. The rosemary door has grown small again. The old garden wall is quiet in the rain. And beneath the roots and stones, Emberly Underwall is glowing softly for the night. The little hearth-keepers are resting now. The common hearth is warm and low. The tiny chimneys are sending comfort upward through the village. You do not need to search for the hidden door tonight. You do not need to follow the steps any farther. Just rest here. Let the rain soften around you. Let the lamplight grow warm in your thoughts. Let your breathing become slow and peaceful. Thank you for listening to Drift to Sleep. I'm Adele Nguyen, and I'll be back soon with more cozy sleep stories and bedtime stories. For now, let your eyes stay closed. Let your body rest. Let the night hold you gently. Sleep well. Good night.